So with the virality of the situation that occurred in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, I did get a lot of questions about lowering devices and what went wrong in that service. And one other thing I did want to go over is a properly working, properly functioning lowering device. Now, in that video, you can't be sure if that device was functioning properly or not, but one thing we will never do is place that lowering device directly on the ground. That would make it incredibly difficult for the pallbearers to bring the casket up from the hearse and then lower themselves down to ground level, carrying a casket which can weigh 200 to 700 pounds depending on the type of casket and the individual. So at our company, we set the Wilbert way, where the vault is swung above the grave. This raises the device to waist level for the pallbearers who will walk up from this end. Now, the reason that we have a dress code and the reason that we change and present ourselves in this way is because we are up here with the family and we are a representative of the funeral home, and we should look and play that part. Now, what we're here to do while the family is present is assist them with the casket. So if you saw in that video, 3 pallbearers went on one side of the grave, 3 went on the other side of the grave, and that's when the boards broke and everyone collapsed down into the grave, which looked as though it had caved in multiple times. Now, when you have a device set up in this manner where it's up above the grave and you have the proper rollers, the proper pistols, the proper guide bars, and safety bars, it makes this entire sequence of events go perfectly smoothly as you place the casket across the lowering device. Now, on today's service, if I were leading the pallbearers in, I would walk up to the end of the device. There would be 3 pallbearers with the casket behind me, 3 on each side, and I instruct the pallbearers with a little bit of a dialogue that I've developed over the years to try to make it as simple as possible and easy for everyone to know what's going on. Is I step to the side, I grab the end of the casket, and I tell the pallbearers, gentlemen or pallbearers, we're going to place the casket on this first roller. You 2 in the front, you may need to lift slightly, and in the rear, you can lower slightly. Once the casket sets down, you simply pass hand over hand, and the casket will glide across the device. Now, I'm able to say that little 10-15 second phrase as the pallbearers are approaching, so everyone knows they don't have to try to climb over that rail. They don't have to follow me down this platform. They can simply set the casket down, and once it does, I'll take a hold, guide it across to make sure it's on the safety bars, and the pallbearers just simply have to pass it along hand over hand. Now, this is the Frigid Imperial, and this is the device that I think everyone should use if they have the ability to. It is just slightly pricier, but we replace our lowering devices every couple of years. So for a couple $100 difference, if that's the case, I don't actually know, but I know it is the nicest model. This makes a world of a difference from the detached rollers that sit on top of the device that can be moved really easily. So how this device works is the casket is up high on this first roller. I'm assisting, making sure that it clears the first set of pistols. Once it clears the pistols, the bottom of the casket slides across the guide bars and seamlessly rolls over the next set of pistols and over the next blue strap. Now, I don't have to use the crank. This gearing is set up properly to where the casket will lower relatively slowly. I always keep my hand on it just in case something breaks. I'd rather not just take the risk. But once the pallbearers are up here, I can make sure the casket spray is placed and turned the right direction. And then I come to the end and I simply lower it down just until the casket rests on the safety bars. And all that does is ensures that while the casket's sitting on the device, it doesn't roll towards the break on the end or roll towards this first roller if the pistols aren't perfectly level or if one end of the casket is heavier than the other. It finally feels like spring out here for once. But in regards to that video that was sent around, it was sent to me probably 75, 80 times at least. I did make a couple long form videos explaining that, but I just wanted to make one to explain how this Frigid lowering device functions and why this is the safest and most effective way to help the pallbearers make this process seamless and safe, so that no one gets hurt, no one falls in graves, no one breaks any boards. And it's not about being easy, it's about being less stressful, because you don't want the family to have to think about getting hurt or anything being dangerous. So as long as the vault company your family chooses or that the funeral home uses provides setups like this, it's a lot safer than, let's just say, a cemetery that does their own committal service setups where it's some 30-year-old plywood on the ground with a lowering device flushed to the ground. I don't like I don't want negativity, but some of them cemeteries just try to do it the fastest, cheapest, and easiest way possible, and that's not what this situation is about. This is a committal service for a family's loved one, and the last thing we should be doing is finding the easiest route, because if that was the case, the grave would be here, the vault would be sitting on the ground, and there would be straps across the top of the base. What the family would do is walk the casket up to the vault base, set it in with the ropes, and I would use the buggy to set the vault in the grave. We don't do that. It's not acceptable in my opinion, but I would never do that for a family who's present at the graveside and expects a full committal service where they can grieve in peace and in safety for their loved ones. So, God bless.